Welcome to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Chapter 1. Down the Rabbit Hole. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Alice was beginning to feel very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank. She had nothing to do. Once or twice, she looked into the book her sister was reading. But it had no pictures and no conversations. And what is the use of a book, Alice thought, without pictures or conversations? So she began thinking, as well as she could, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain was worth the trouble of getting up and picking the flowers. The day was very hot, and she felt sleepy and dull. Suddenly, a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. There was nothing very strange about that, nor did Alice think it so very unusual to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late." But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice jumped to her feet. She had never before seen a rabbit with a waistcoat pocket, or a watch to take out of it. Burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In another moment, Alice went down after it, without stopping to think how in the world she was going to get out again. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then suddenly dipped down. Alice had no time to stop herself before she found that she was falling down a very deep well. Either the well was very deep, or she was falling very slowly, because she had plenty of time to look around and wonder what would happen next. First, she tried to look down and see where she was going, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked at the sides of the well. They were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hanging on pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed. It was labeled, orange marmalade, but to her disappointment, it was empty. She did not like to drop the jar, for fear of hurting someone below, so she carefully put it into another cupboard as she fell past it. Well, thought Alice, after such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave they will think me at home. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell from the top of the house. Down, down, down she went. Would the fall never come to an end? I wonder how many miles have fallen by this time, she said aloud. I must be getting close to the center of the earth. She tried to remember what she had learned in school, though this was not a very good time to show her knowledge, since no one was listening. Still, she went on talking to herself, because it made the falling feel less lonely. As Alice continued to fall, she began to feel less afraid. There was nothing else to do, so she started talking to herself again. I wonder how far I've fallen now, she said. I must be getting close to the center of the earth. Let me see, that would be about 4,000 miles down, I think. Alice had learned many things like this in her lessons at school. And though this was not the best moment to show her knowledge, it was good practice to say it out loud. Yes, that's about the right distance, she went on. But then I wonder what latitude or longitude I've reached. Alice had no idea what latitude or longitude really were, but she liked saying such long and important sounding words. Soon she began talking again. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. How funny it would be to come out among people who walk with their heads downward. The antipathies, I think. She stopped and corrected herself. No, that doesn't sound quite right. She was glad no one was listening, because it did not sound like the correct word at all. But I shall have to ask them what country I am in, she went on. Please, ma'am, is this New Zealand or Australia? And she tried to make a polite curtsy as she spoke, even though she was falling through the air. Just imagine trying to curtsy while falling. Do you think you could do it? And how silly she will think me for asking, Alice thought. No, it will never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see the name written somewhere. Down, down, down she went again. There was nothing else to do, so Alice soon began talking once more. Dinah will miss me very much tonight, I think. Dinah was her cat. I hope they remember to give her her saucer of milk at tea time. Dear Dinah, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air, I'm afraid, she went on. But you might catch a bat. And that's very like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats, I wonder? And here Alice began to feel rather sleepy. She went on saying, in a dreamy voice, "Do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats?" Sometimes she changed the question around and said, "Do bats eat cats?" Because she could not answer either question. It did not really matter which way she asked it. She was getting so sleepy now that she had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dinah. She was saying very earnestly, "Now, Dinah, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat?" When suddenly, thump, thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves. And the long fall was over. Alice was not hurt at all when she landed. She stood up quickly and looked around. Everything above her was dark. But in front of her, she saw a long passage. And there, still in sight, was the white rabbit, hurrying away. "There is no time to lose," thought Alice. She ran after it as fast as she could. Just in time, she heard the rabbit say, "Oh my ears and whiskers. How late it's getting." She was close behind it when it turned a corner. But when Alice turned the same corner, the rabbit was gone. She now found herself in a long, low hall. The hall was lit by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all around the hall. Alice tried every one of them, but they were all locked. She walked down one side of the hall, and then back again on the other side, trying each door carefully. At last, tired and sad, she walked slowly down the middle of the hall, wondering how she would ever get out again. Suddenly, she noticed a little table. It stood on 3 legs, and was made entirely of solid glass. There was nothing on the table, except a tiny golden key. Alice's first thought was that this key might belong to one of the doors of the hall. But, sadly, it did not fit any of them. Either the locks were too big, or the key was too small. However, when she tried again, she noticed something she had not seen before. There was a small curtain near the wall. Behind it was a little door, only about 15 inches high. She tried the little golden key in the lock. To her great joy, it fitted perfectly. Alice opened the door, and saw that it led into a small passage, not much larger than a rat hole. She knelt down and looked through it. Beyond the passage, she saw the most beautiful garden she had ever seen. There were bright flower beds, and cool, sparkling fountains. "Oh, how I wish I could get out of this dark hall," Alice said, "and wander among those lovely flowers. But she could not even get her head through the doorway. And even if my head could go through, she thought, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope. I think I could, if only I knew how to begin." So many strange things had happened already, that Alice had begun to believe that very few things were truly impossible. Alice saw that there was no use waiting by the little door. So she went back to the glass table, half hoping she might find another key on it, or at least a book of rules for shutting people up like telescopes. This time, she found something new. On the table stood a little bottle. It certainly had not been there before. Around the neck of the bottle was a paper label, with the words, "Drink me," beautifully printed on it in large letters. "It is all very well to say, 'Drink me,'" said Alice. "But I will look first and see whether it is marked, 'Poison,' or not." She had read several stories about children who had been hurt because they did not remember simple rules. Some had been burned, others had been eaten by wild animals, all because they were careless. Alice had never forgotten that if you drink from a bottle marked, "Poison," it is almost certain to disagree with you sooner or later. However, this bottle was not marked poison. So Alice decided to taste it. And finding it very nice, she soon finished it all. It had a strange and pleasant flavor, something like cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey, toffee, and hot buttered toast all mixed together. "What a curious feeling," said Alice. "I must be shutting up like a telescope." And so it was. She was now only 10 inches high. Her face brightened with joy, for she was now just the right size to go through the little door into the beautiful garden. First, however, she waited for a few minutes. to see if she was going to shrink anymore. She felt a little nervous about this. For it might end, she said to herself, in my going out altogether, like a candle. She tried to imagine what the flame of a candle looks like after it has been blown out. But she could not remember ever seeing such a thing. After a while, finding that nothing more happened, she decided to go into the garden at once. But, sadly, when she reached the door, she discovered she had forgotten the little golden key. She went back to the table to get it. But she could not possibly reach it now. She could see the key clearly through the glass. But the table was too slippery to climb. She tried her best, but at last she grew tired and sat down on the floor. Poor little Alice began to cry. Come, there's no use in crying like that, she said to herself sharply. I advise you to stop this minute. She often gave herself very good advice, though she seldom followed it. Sometimes she scolded herself so severely that she brought tears to her own eyes. And once, she even remembered trying to box her own ears for cheating at a game she was playing against herself. For Alice was very fond of pretending to be two people. But it's no use now, she thought sadly. There's hardly enough of me left to make one respectable person. Soon, her eyes fell upon a little glass box that was lying under the table. She opened it and found inside a very small cake. On it were the words, "Eat me," beautifully marked in currants. Well, I'll eat it, said Alice. And if it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key. And if it makes me grow smaller, I can creep under the door. Either way, I'll get into the garden. And I don't care which happens. She took a small bite and said anxiously to herself, which way, which way? She held her hand on the top of her head to feel whether she was growing taller or shorter. To her great surprise, she remained exactly the same size. Of course, this is what usually happens when one eats cake. But Alice had grown so used to strange things happening that it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the ordinary way. So she set to work, and very soon finished the whole cake. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. More chapters are coming soon.